on things, but here are the things that they wanted specifically. They wanted the floor plan of Kelly's Chicago Tracks studio. They also wanted some of the stipulations of testimony that had to do with some people who were related to Jane Doe number 3. So things that the prosecutors read into the record, but not people who actually came into the courtroom. They also wanted a letter that Jane Doe number 5 wrote to her brother that was also talked about in court. And they want the full transcript of Sonia, Jane Doe number 3's testimony. So that's a little different than the exhibits because that's an actual transcript that was created by the court reporter of Jane Doe number 3 on the stand. So the majority of these things that they want in the deliberation room with them have to do with Sonia, Jane Doe number 3. Her allegations date back to 2003 when she was a radio station intern. And now these jurors want the floor plan that she described that was also separately described by one of Kelly's employees. Now this jury is also asking about Jane Doe number 5's testimony in the fact that they are asking about the letter that she read on the record. But here's a snippet that we got from it being read in court where she's talking about Kelly and she's saying in this letter that he's a real person. He's fun. He was nothing but respectful to us. Mom, meaning her mother, nagged me to sleep with him and to take pictures and video of us to use as blackmail. Of course, Kelly's camp arguing during their closing arguments that this was a letter that showed what her lifestyle was like and that she was someone who purposefully got into a relationship with him and that her parents were pushing her to get some kind of dirt on the singer while she was with him.
Okay, how long did this jury deliberate and what's the schedule going forward here?
They deliberated for 3 hours today, and at 5:30, which is the normal time for this trial to wrap up, they sent a letter to the judge from the foreperson that said, regarding the verdict, and everyone in the courtroom stopped, almost their breath sinking, is this going to be something about the verdict? They said, regarding the verdict, we don't have a verdict. We haven't reached one. We'd like to go home. So they'll be coming back on Monday, 9:30, to start up that deliberations again.
We're not dealing with the typical RICO of a mafia or gang case.
And so look at the trial through the eyes of the jury, if you will. What testimony or evidence would be front and center for you in your mind?
So if I were a juror, I think what they're grappling with right now and what they should be grappling with, like, look, the prosecution gave a good closing argument. But guess what? The defense also gave a good and passionate closing argument that did make sense. So I think what they're grappling up with is what the defense said, that these women, because through cross-examination, I think that's what they should be focusing on, a lot came out in terms of there's non-disclosure agreements, there's been settlements, there've been lawsuits, there are open lawsuits. These women came in with attorneys to the court. So I will be focusing on the cross-examination of these ladies that testify in order to come with a verdict in this case, because it's a lot to handle when you're talking about and basing your evidence strictly on testimony, because the corroboration was little to none.
So much complexity involved in this case, and yet the jurors were dismissed for the weekend, and they'll be back Monday morning. I know legal eagles like you don't like to predict, but when do you think we might see a verdict and venture to guess what it might be?
So we got a peek at to what the jury is deliberating, what they're focusing on, and their jury note that they sent around, I believe around 4 o'clock or so, where they were asking for the exhibits, where they were asking for the letter that Jane Doe number 5, wrote to her brother saying that R.Kelly did nothing wrong and he's been nothing but respectful. They also asked for the entire testimony of Sonia, which is Jane Doe number 3. So I think what they're doing is that they're going victim by victim as the indictment has it laid out in order to make a determination, which will mean that they are going to last a while in order to reach a verdict. Because at this point, based on that note, they were still talking about Jane Doe number 3. I believe maybe Tuesday or Wednesday there'll be a verdict in this case. But hey, you just never know when you're talking about 12 strangers that don't know each other and have to unanimously agree on a verdict.